My name is Tonga Si'ipeko. I'm a realtor out here in Washington in the Seattle area. My brokerage is based on Bainbridge Island, Washington. It's a 30-minute ferry ride across the water from Seattle. And it's a great place to live for people who need access to Seattle because it offers a cheaper cost of living, but still great access to the city for those that work there.
Okay, so it's a commuter area then that you're based in primarily, which is good.
Absolutely.
So is that common for people to always be taking ferries around?
It is. So we're like, the Puget Sound just runs down the middle of the greater Seattle area. Seattle is on the east side of the Puget Sound. And then there's access to tons of areas of Washington via ferries. So state ferries is actually the main means of transportation for the people that do live across the water, which I've never seen before in all the places I've lived. I think it's amazing. You can catch up on work while you're riding a boat.
Sounds kind of nice, definitely. So I'm curious for us to get to know a little bit more about you, what your background is, and how you ended up being in real estate.
Absolutely. I was military. So I was military for 9 years. I went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and I graduated with a degree in engineering. And then shortly after that, I went into the submarine service. So I went in as a nuclear submarine officer and spent the past 5 years studying nuclear engineering and managing and operating nuclear power plants and supervising the sailors on submarines.
Wow, techie.
Yeah, super techie. And I guess I was just looking for something that was completely different than what I was doing. I'm very social person. I like to get out there and kind of be in the outdoors, feel the sun on my face, which you don't get to feel too much on a submarine. And I figured real estate would be perfect. The market's really great in our area for real estate agents. And so far, I've really loved it.
Great. So Annapolis, Maryland, how did you end up being out in Seattle? Were you based out there for a while then?
I did. I've been stationed here for 3 years. So I moved out here in 2017, moved around probably 5 different places before that within a 2-year period. So finally settled down here, bought a house, and live here.
Awesome. Okay, so you've been through the buying process personally. Which
I have, yeah. So I live right across the water from Seattle. Yeah. And my main market is Bainbridge Island, which is really great. The whole Kitsap County that makes up the area right across the water, there's a lot of military here. And I really love working with military clients, mainly because I was military myself. They're really great to work with. The market's really stable across the water because you do have 2 military bases and you have a shipyard, one of the largest shipyards in the US for the Navy. So there's always government jobs. There's always military home buyers that are moving in and out constantly because they get stationed here, and the average time that they get stationed in one place is about 3 to 5 years. So there's constantly people moving in and out.
Okay. So do you find that people tend to buy them when they're stationed in a certain location for a while?
They do. A majority of my clients have been military individuals, and they either buy and sell when they move away, or they hold and rent because it's really easy to rent their houses out when they leave.
Because you always have incoming people, either from at least
absolutely
then for it. I know out here in Boston we don't have as much of a military presence, so we don't get a lot of people from the bases. I mean, we have a couple of Navy installations in Boston Harbor. It's more like the old Ironsides.
Yeah.
What we have down there. So we don't have as much of it, but we do have from time to time incoming military people, usually heading to some of the labs that they have around here. But we do get a lot of people moving out to Seattle from Boston area. So thank you for kind of explaining the military side, the military aspect. That's something I hadn't really known before until talking to you. Now, what other are some of the big industries around there? I know Microsoft obviously is.
Oh yeah, there's we have some of the major industry giants here in Seattle, from Microsoft to Amazon, Boeing, Starbucks. The biggest industry is the technology industry, and Apple's building a campus, and so is Facebook. So people are expanding moving into Seattle to build these campuses, and obviously Amazon is always expanding.
That is great. So you mentioned there's kind of a price difference between Bainbridge Island and Seattle. In general, say someone were to say, look, I'm going to be moving or transferred out to Seattle. You know, what is the pricing like in Bainbridge Island versus Seattle, and what is the kind of the housing markets like? I imagine Seattle would be more competitive only because it's a big city, but you know, I don't know the area, so I'm curious what your experience has been.
Yeah, so Bainbridge Island is kind of the nicer area of Kitsap County, and they have a lot higher of a price point than the rest of Kitsap County, which is where most of the military lives. So on Bainbridge Island, the median sales price is $887,000. And then in the rest of Kitsap County, which is where most of the military and shipyard government contractors will live, is about $400,000. So there's a major price drop when you drive across the bridge from Bainbridge Island to Kitsap County. And then when you go over to King County, which is where Seattle's at, their price point is about $675,000. And if you're looking specifically in the Seattle area for a house, it's about $780,000 for median sales price.
Okay, so Bainbridge is a little bit higher end for price.
Yes, yes, but you do get more house for your money than if you're trying to buy something in Seattle.
Okay, and you don't have the urban living, which some people may not want to. Some people may be okay with working in urban, but not necessarily living.
Yeah, especially now with everything that's going on. I think a lot of people are trying to move out of Seattle, but still be accessible because they still have to work and earn a living, but they're looking for more wide open space, which is what Kitsap County and Bainbridge Island have to offer.
There's a lot of similarity in prices with the Boston area. I'm based my office is physically located in Arlington, which is just next to Cambridge, next to Boston. So we're just kind of a suburb of Boston. And the average price around here can go up in the 700s to 800s. Yes. But it is interesting, depending on which town you're in, that can go up to average of like 900 to $1 million. You drive 20 minutes away and the average price could be like 600. So, you know, it kind of varies, and it's a compact area. It's not spread out at all because old city.
I think we do have more economic stability than some other major cities that you'd see, like Las Vegas. That's where I'm originally from. They're completely centered around travel and hospitality, and that's not happening when you have a global pandemic that shuts down travel.
Yeah.
Whereas here in Seattle, people can work from home, especially when they have these major tech jobs.
Yeah.
So I think it is more stable, and across the water is a little more stable than inside Seattle itself because of the major military presence and government presence.
So some people, when they're relocating to an area, they take taxes and property and income tax into mind. Are there any areas that are a little bit more heavy duty in terms of property taxes? Are pretty much level no matter where you go?
The average property tax in Washington is 1.03%, which is about a little bit lower than the national average of 1.08. Okay. We don't have state income tax, so that's really great for, great for people that want to retire, or great for anybody that just wants to move somewhere that they don't have to pay as much every year. We do have state sales tax, though, which ends up being about 9% in the area that we live across the water, because you have the 6.5% state sales tax, and then you have 2.5% for the county, and then each county is slightly different. So it ends up being around 9%. It's extremely competitive. We're in a seller's market over here, and I'm helping somebody out that's looking they're looking in the $400,000 price range. And we just made an offer on a property that was listed. It's a townhome listed at 330, and there's 5 offers. There are 5 offers within a couple of days of it going on the market.
Okay. So it's very competitive then. Would that a home in that price then almost be considered an investor type or something an investor would target, like a military person who said, I'm only going to be here stationed for 3 years or so? Or
Absolutely. I think that if you look at the trends over the past few years, you'll notice that there's a huge growth in median sales price. So when I bought my house in 2017, from now, it's gone up over $100,000 in estimated value in 3 years.
okay.
And so it's a great place for people that are looking to invest in property. And it's also great to hold because you can always rent it out and you never have to worry about that either.
Yeah, no, that sounds really great. So then about 750,000 type 800,000 home, you said that's kind of more like what you're getting there. What kind of a home does that get you?
On Bainbridge Island, it really depends on where you're located on the island because lots of people want to live waterfront or some people want to live away from the water. If you're going to the waterfront, you're looking between $1 to $2 million to start, depending on which area you're living in and how close to the water you want to be. 700,000 to 800,000 is probably going to get you. You're going to have to look further away from the water. But if you cross the bridge and go into Kitsap County, the rest of Kitsap County, you'll find a really nice house for the $700,000 to $800,000 price range. And depending on how far you go, you can definitely find a waterfront house that's really nice over in the Bremerton area, which is also accessible to Seattle.
What are some of the top 10 things that you like about the area, or some of the top 10 reasons to move there?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest draws to Washington is its natural beauty. Out of all the places that I've lived in the United States, I think it's one of the most beautiful areas I've ever lived. You're surrounded by water. If you work in Seattle, you take a boat to work, and it's idyllic. It's an idyllic way to live. There's hiking, mountain biking, cycling, all this outdoor activities that people love to do. We have tons of national parks, lots of trails, skiing's close. There's just so many things that draws, and I think it's the natural beauty that really draws people to Washington, and the state income tax, because it's a great place to retire.
Definitely icing on the cake. all the beautiful area to live in and the convenience. So the ferry rides, are they relatively smooth crossing? It's not like open ocean or anything.
No, they're relatively smooth. So if you take the state ferry, it's this huge, massive boat that you can drive your car onto actually, and you can cross the Puget Sound on your car on the ferry. And then they do have fast ferry options for the areas that are slightly further away in Kitsap County that gets you there in 28 minutes, and it's walk on, or you can ride your bike on, and then it'll get you there pretty quickly. And that's more of like a speedboat type transport, but still relatively smooth.
Well, so if people wanted to reach out to you to learn a little bit more about the area, what would be the best way for them to reach you?
They can follow me on Facebook. Also have Instagram business page. And then I also have my own website, paycorealestate.com.
Okay.
So any of those, I'm available.
Perfect. All right. Well, it sounds great. Thanks for your time. This was, I did learn a lot about the area, and I appreciate it. So you have a good day.
Thank you, David. You too.